This is Vivian Conterio with TrainerTainment on ThinkTank Thursday. Today we have a very special guest from Wild Island Coconut Bowl in Reno, Nevada. Her name is Charlene Livesey. We're going to be talking to her about groups, but first I want to make sure that we are giving a big shout out and a big thank you to our ThinkTank partners, Party Center Software, Betson, Embed, Semnox, and Redemption Plus. We couldn't do this Think Tank Thursday without them, so a big thank you. If you want to get more information, please go to TrainerTainment.net and take a look at all of our partners on there. Hi, everybody. I'm here with Charlene Livesey. Is it Livesey?
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
she is with Coconut Bowl, Wild Island Coconut Bowl in Reno, Nevada. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role there?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Charlene. I started with this company back in 2015, so I'm coming up on my 7 years here. Started from the bottom, so I was a staff member, and then made my way up to a supervisor. I worked in several departments, including food and beverage, and then eventually the group sales department. And then once our leadership role kind of opened up, I stepped into that role in the end of 2019. So I've been the event director formally ever since.
Wow, that's fantastic. So you've moved up, so you've learned a lot of different things within the organization there. And I guess all of that makes you really comfortable with what you're doing because you really know the product. You really know how everything works there. You've had a couple of different, you've seen it in all different perspectives. So what's been like the hardest part of your job so far?
Honestly, I think the hardest part has been just going through the motions with new staff in this kind of day and age that we've seen. When I started in 2015, I think the staffing was a little bit different in terms of just like what to expect from them, availability, just kind of the expectations of the job. This industry is a very weekend-based job, obviously. So having kids that are, anywhere between 14 and 16 can be a challenge to manage in terms of getting them to show up for their job and that kind of stuff. So for me, that leadership role has been a little bit challenging to set that example for them because it's a lot of expectations that they don't want to meet because they're very young. But it's been something that I've been working on to work closely with the staff so they can kind of get a better perspective of how to learn from me and what I do to show them that this job is something that's important and their role is important as well.
Yeah, that's great. And they can also, learn from you that this is a position that they can move up. There's other things that they can do depending on their growth, depending on what they want to do.
Right.
So I think that you're a great example of, moving up through the chain and making sure that you're, always stay learning, that you're always focused on that growth, not only for your company, but for yourself as well. So, and right now with the climate of things that are occurring with hiring and keeping your staff there, what issues are you facing right now?
For us, it's a lot of availability. A lot of these kids, do their extracurriculars, or some cases their parents are heavily involved with their schedule. So in terms of that, it's just been a challenge to find people that are willing to work, the Friday, Saturday, Sundays that we need them for. Other issues we've been facing are just general attitudes have been a challenge for us. I think that might be industry-wide. Just from hiring and the process that we go through, we get a lot of one-on-ones with them where we just kind of have conversations and then go into the interview questions, go back to the conversation. But definitely getting those attitudes towards work and separating that from just their social life and school has been a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah, I could only imagine right now. Yeah. And as far as hiring, you had mentioned to me that you were trying something a little bit different now. What is it that you've been doing?
Yeah, so I used to do like a very generic just interview process, just straight to the questions. I've been doing more of like auditions like TrainerTainment does, where I present some situations. We kind of go through the motions of what hosting would be like on a busy day, just so that they can get a feel of exactly what they're applying for. And then after I hire them, we do monthly host assessments is what we call them. So we do verbal and observational assessments. So verbal would be anything questioning them on our pricing, just to make sure they're understanding what the prices are of everything. And then observational, we just sit afar so that they don't know we're there. So it's like anonymous. And then we make sure their hair is tied up, their uniform's correct, how they interact with guests, how they interact with each other. And then recently, actually starting this month, I'm doing one-on-one evaluations via Zoom with my host. So I can go over that information with them privately, just going over what their strengths are, things that they need to improve on. So they really understand that we want them to grow here and want them to stay and just understand their potential as a host to grow. So.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Mhm.
It's been such a really difficult climate as far as the hiring and keeping your staff happy and making sure that people are there when you need them. As far as we're going to dive right into, talking about a little bit about groups and your goals and how do you guys come up with your goals for this year?
So for us, what I do is I pull average of what we've done in the past. So our biggest years for Coconut Bowl have been 2019 and then actually recently 2021. I break them down into quarters based on how many parties we booked, how many events we booked. And then I kind of just find a middle ground between that. That's a realistic goal that I know my team and I are comfortable with. So for me, really just talking to my team and letting them know what expectations I have for our goals, I get a general number based on our averages already. And then I also kind of base it on revenue based on the quarters that we've had in the past from 2019 and now 2021.
Yeah, it just blows my mind that your best year has been 2021.
I know.
That's really, really incredible. And congratulations to you guys, because
thank you.
In the industry, it's been a really hard thing. I think, 2020 was just terrible in overall for everybody. I think 2021, people were just kind of sick of it, and it's the second year, so they started coming back a lot more to, places that had less restrictions than others. So really, I don't think it was only that. I think it really makes a big difference how you guys are putting these things together, making sure that people feel safe and that they want to come back. So, kudos, because that's been a really big part of this growth, for everybody right now during the whole season. So, and for you doing so many different things, time management. Let's talk about that a little bit, because I know that that's really a hard one. You've got so many things, so many balls in the air between hiring and your sales and your, overseeing staff. How do you, what strategy do you use for your time management?
So I have designated days where I do strictly office work, and office work would be anything between prospecting, also just following up with groups, and then obviously working hands-on with my supervisors. For me, I also manage the floor on weekends. So typically Fridays and Saturdays, because most of my clients work 9 to 5s Monday through Friday. I work as an MOD Friday and Saturday, and then sometimes Sunday. So my designated office days are anywhere between Monday through Thursday. Depending on the week. And then for those times, I break them down into basically sections of my morning. So I'll do 9 to 12, I'll kind of set my prospects out so I can have an idea of when I'm going to reach out to them. And then after I have a lunch break, then from there, I just go back into the follow-up section of ones that I prospected in the past, and then following up with groups that we've already booked and just need to kind of check in on.
Sure, that's making sure that we have that process down so things don't fall through the cracks throughout the day. And it's really important, especially to do that follow-up and making sure that people are being called, and either you or your staff, however you guys are handling that sales process in that regard. So talking about groups, and I know that you guys get a ton of inbound calls. So a lot of people know about you, they hear about you, and they're already calling. What are you doing to prospect and get new groups to come in?
Yeah, so to prospect, I've actually found, you and I talked about this actually as a hidden gem, is just using the staff that we have. So I have a lot of supervisors, staff that are in college. So, they do extracurriculars. So we booked a lot of sororities. We've gotten some real estate groups from parents that work in the real estate arena. And then also just locally, because we are well known, word of mouth has honestly been the most useful for us. There's so many people around us that are not in this industry. So we're in a very industrial zone with different companies like that. We also have bigger groups like Tesla. There's a Google factory that's opening soon. So business is just kind of coming through based on the area that we're in, which we're just fortunate with. But in terms of prospecting, I for sure look into past groups that we've had. And then fortunately, a lot of these people have relocated to other places, but I still have their contact information. So I get the companies that they work with. So it's been a lot of just, what is the word? It's been a lot of reputation that's gotten us these people from prospect. We are averaging 3 to 5 groups a week. There was a bit of a drop off in the beginning of this year just because of COVID and people wanting to postpone, or people wanting to cancel, or people that had been exposed to it, so they had to postpone. But yes, for us, we've seen an influx of our average for groups. In the past, it used to be anywhere between 1 and 3, and now we've upped that to 3 to 5. So we've seen a bit of an influx there.
Cool. How about the amount of people?
Yeah, for us, yeah. So for group sizes, we've seen a lot of bigger groups. Our group minimums start at 30 here, but for us, we've been seeing anywhere between 50 and 100 as an average. And then we're also seeing a lot of people wanting to do private events, just because either, they want to have their own space, or because, they don't want to be around other people right now, anything like that. So we've seen groups of upwards of 250 as well, but our average is right between like 50 and 100, some like 70, 75, I would say, is our average.
Well, that's fantastic. Now that we're coming up to the end of the year for schools, what are you guys doing as far as, you're booking that you're in business for the schools, and then moving on into that summer program? What have you done in the past, and what are you planning on this year?
In the past, I honestly believe we just had such a relationship with these kids groups that already came. For example, we have Boys and Girls Club of Truckee Meadows, which is a huge group for us. And then we have like smaller daycares and things like that. So for us, in the past, they've honestly just reached out because of what we have as an industry here, just in the local area. A lot of other places in this Reno Sparks area don't have a lot of kid-friendly areas to go into. But for this year, what I did was I put together our pricing for our school and recreational groups, and I sent it out to all of our past contacts, just to get them on the same page of what we're going to be doing this year. And then for end of year events, we basically put together like a smaller version of what that group would look like, or like a menu almost of what they can select. So like a food option, attractions that are going to be best based on their group size and age group as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. So, and how about for the proms and things like that? Because I know that you've been talking about, the people that work with you and asking them where they go, the schools, and any kind of chapters for sororities, fraternities, prom, after prom parties, anything like that you've how are you reaching them?
Yeah, so I haven't actually reached out to a lot of those. I've gotten a couple inquiries just inbound. The problem is a lot of them are seniors themselves, and they're put in that position to book the event for us or for their school. So there's a lot of communication back and forth, and just kind of the follow-up time, the lead times are getting longer and longer with some of them. For us, because of we have the casinos around us, a lot of these past groups for proms or like after proms, anything like that, graduations even, they do usually tend to book at the casinos where they have like a bigger venue for them to set up stages and whatnot. But for us, we appeal to them because they can wear their prom dresses and go on the go-karts. They can do some other fun stuff that would basically be like a safe and sober. And we've seen a lot of safe and sober inquiries as well. And we booked a couple of them for this year.
Well, that's fantastic. I like to see that more and more for all these young people, keep them all safe.
Right.
Last week we were actually talking about objections. And what kind of objections? I know that this was, part of the homework for this week was really paying attention to what objections we get that stops us. So like, what are you seeing, and what's your response to some of these objections?
So for groups, our biggest objection is it's usually someone that's not in charge of the budget that's reaching out. So, we'll give them information, we'll provide them a quote. And then they're like, oh, okay, well, we need to double check with our boss, or we need to check with our accounting team. So in situations like that, we leave it in our system as a quote, so we know to follow up with them. And then we also do follow up, every week, depending on if they still haven't booked or if they still have resounding questions, things like that. For birthdays, the biggest objection is honestly going to be asking their partner if that's something that they wanted to do. Everyone's very, quick to want to like book the location, book the package, but they need to double check with their partner that they actually want to do it. And then also we've seen objections where they're concerned about social distancing, just little things like that are kind of an outside factor that are impacting our objections. So for us, we're fortunate enough to have a space that's upstairs. It's called our mezzanine. It seats 150 people. So for us, when we have parties that are, worried about distancing, worried about being in a huge public place like this, we relocate them to that space for free.
That's a really nice little added bonus there.
Yes.
What other types of objections are you, because again, we talked about this last week, it happens in every part of that sales process. So even what stops you from reaching them when, let's say, you've got a client or you've got a prospect, that you're really trying to reach out to, and you don't really connect with them, like what happens in that conversation, or where, how do you change that?
I think for me personally, it's hard for people to know exactly what we have to offer in our facility. So what I do to help this prospect process is I ask them to come down for a tour. And then my boss and I, basically, we just come to an agreement that, we'll get them lunch, we'll kind of treat them to some stuff, we'll walk around the facility, answer any questions they have. Because I've worked here so long, I give them kind of pointers in what other groups their size or anything that's related to what their group wants to do have done in the past, so they have some ideas. And then usually that can help build the connection, because sometimes seeing my face or hearing my voice on the phone or reading my emails doesn't always come across the way that it should or the way that you want it to. So really meeting in person is sometimes that extra step that gets those groups to want to book, and seeing the facility too. Because some guests, they'll say, oh, I've been there before, I know exactly what they have. And, everyone says that, and then you give them a tour and they're like, oh, I forgot you had this, or I didn't know you had this. And it gives them that extra motivation to want to book.
Yeah, I love tours, and I love, when I came to see your location, you gave me the tour, you get so excited about all the different possibilities of what you, what you have to offer. And you do lose that in a conversation. You do lose, being able to show, even in a picture, it makes it really hard. So when you're having those kind of objections and you're bringing them in, showing them the location, treating them to lunch, I mean, I think it's the best of both worlds for everybody involved. It really gets them thinking about outside the box of what's possible in your location. How many can it hold? And, not even knowing that you have that little mezzanine upstairs that could hold, an entire party if need be. It makes it so important for us to be able to show off what we have. And I don't know why people don't use that whole tour as, as a sales, as part of your sales more and more often. Right. Any other objections that you're seeing now, especially now with COVID? I know that restrictions, that spacing issues and things like that. Are you having cancellation issues, anything like that?
Yeah, we had a solid 2-week period where we were just getting consistent cancellations. So what we did is we were tracking them based on their order number. We use Party Center, so we basically would just print out their invoice. We would have it in a little section in our office, so we would know to give them a call back shortly after. Give them a couple weeks, especially if it was about COVID, just to be like, hey, are you guys still interested in having a party? I know you couldn't hold it back the day that you wanted to, but we're still going to honor that deposit, obviously, and then just move you guys if you'd like. So for us, it's just really important for us to do the follow-up for these cancellations. But for sure, there's been factors where we've had those things happen because people were exposed or they were scared. And like I said, we do our best to kind of filter that information as best as possible, whether it's we can relocate you to the private space, or we can relocate you to a different day, different time, or even upgrade the package to the private rooms that we offer. So we really work one-on-one with the parties and groups, especially to make sure that they're comfortable with what they're booking, comfortable with the space that they're going to be having.
What are you most excited about for groups now during the next couple of months?
I'm excited for how big these groups are. For us, we were so used to having like those smaller groups, just little corporate ones. And for us, just seeing these big groups wanting to come, wanting to rent out portions of the facility, whether it's attractions or a whole side, it's really exciting to see what potential we have. Our mezzanine is one of those spaces that we need to utilize more. I want to do theme stuff there. I want to do like pumpkin carving, Halloween stuff, Christmas parties we already do, but I want to spice it up a little bit. There's just so much space that we have. And I think getting these bigger groups will really help us utilize the spaces that we haven't seen so much use in the past of. So for me, just having these groups really want to come in and do things big and extravagant is what's exciting.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I can't wait for the summer for you guys. You guys are going to be packed busy. I know you have that space outside too, with the food truck and all that whole space out there. Yes. What are you guys going to be doing out there? Anything fun for the summer?
I was thinking about it. Yeah, I think we have a lot of potential with the food truck out there. We've talked about things like in our town, we have something called Food Truck Friday. So every Friday in the summer, there's food trucks that gather. We were thinking about doing something like that with our food truck, where we would basically just have it open to the public. Like we'd have a gate open in our outdoor golf course that would just let them in through the gate itself. And then we can just have little shindigs there where we have, because it's a taco, it's called Taco Taco. So we sell a bunch of taco stuff. We sell draft beers, stuff like that, so we can really get like a summer party going. But I don't know exactly what I want to do with it yet, but there's a lot of potential.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like a lot of fun out there. Well, Charlene, I really want to thank you for being on for today for Think Tank. One last question that I have, and I know we do a lot of growth in our coaching calls, but what specifically, because we are all about learning and growing, what are you doing to keep yourself growing?
So for me, I'm really working one-on-one with my team more. I think everyone's management styles are very important for how they grow. For me, I'm a very hands-on person, so I like to get to know my staff and my supervisors outside of work, because I think that really gives us a bond to grow together when we're working as a department. So for me, I really just stress to them that they can come and talk to me about anything, even if it's not work related, as long as it's not while they're working. So I've made some good relationships and some good bonds with my staff. And I think that's really strengthened us as a department and strengthened myself as a leader. And then also just setting the expectations has been something that I think I struggled with in my first year of management, but then obviously working with you, working with getting scripts together, having everything prepared for them and setting exactly what I expect has also helped me and our whole department grow together. And I think that personal growth needs to come from your team as well. So our department, I feel like, is stronger than ever. And I think it really does help to have those conversations, those relationships outside of work carry into the work itself.
Well, that's fantastic. I love hearing that. So, but thank you so much for being on today. And
yes, thank you.
Can't wait to talk to you a little bit more later on. I know that you were at IAPA. That was great. You did fantastic. I know you were really nervous about, sitting in front of a big audience and all that, and you did great. I was not there to watch you, but I did see it while it was being taped, and I was really, really happy and very proud of you. So happy with your growth, and congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I owe a lot of this to you, so I appreciate everything you've done for me and TrainerTainment as a whole, honestly.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I wanted to say thank you to Charlene for a great little interview here today. If you guys wanted to get some more information, please visit with Charlene or have any questions for Charlene. She is over at Wild Island Coconut Bowl in Reno, Nevada. If you ever get out there, what a fantastic facility. Make sure you go say hi to Craig Buster and Charlene.
Introducing Mobile Wallet, the next gen in cashless fueled by Embed. Your virtual game card is added to the mobile wallet with no app download required. Just scan the QR code, then create your account in the mobile portal. Guests can do a quick reload of their game cards anytime, anywhere without leaving the game. They can also skip the kiosk and cashier lines, and there's no need for a balance check machine. With advanced security and encrypted tech, Embed's mobile wallet is the only FEC business solution compliant and approved by both Google and Apple.